WWE stars are dreading a Mania weekend show. Backstage creative frustration at SmackDown. A controversial wrestling championship vacated. And more. I'm Ollie Davis, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
We've had Raw is Jericho. Move aside Monday Night Rollins. You're on Fridays now, the KO show, because tonight is finally Monday Night Wrestle Raw. Wrestle Raw sounds weird. Luke and I are going to Monday Night Raw live in London tonight. I've only ever been to one WWE TV taping my entire life, and it was terrible. The 8th of May 2017 episode where Dean Ambrose and The Miz were made co-general managers. It was a bad time for everyone. So I am very excited to experience a Paul Levesque era production where I can watch the drone fly around the crowd, hopefully get in the background of an overly long Yeet entrance one-shot, and most importantly, see how off the pacing is whenever they throw to Netflix ad breaks. And yeah, there'll probably be some wrestling too, I think. If you see me and Luke, please do come over and say hi, and most importantly, buy us a drink for all the time you would have then wasted. Luke tells me I'm not allowed to charge for photos. Well, then I'll guilt you into nice gestures. The show begins at 7 p.m. here in the United Kingdom, which is broadcast live on Netflix at 2 p.m. EST in the States. That's pretty early for Raw in its home country, but nowhere near as early as NXT on WrestleMania weekend. WrestleMania weekend has SmackDown and the Hall of Fame ceremony going partially head-to-head on Friday night, WrestleMania 41 Night 1 on Saturday, Mania Night 2 on Sunday, and then Raw on the Monday. It's a jam-packed weekend for the main roster, which means NXT has suffered a brutal bit of scheduling. Mania weekend also sees NXT run one of its biggest shows of the year, Stand and Deliver, which is booked for Las Vegas's T-Mobile Arena on the Saturday. Because that's taking place on the same day as Night 1 of WrestleMania, Stand and Deliver has to finish much earlier in the day. In 2023, for example, Stand and Deliver started at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Turns out that was quite the squeeze between the two events because last year it was shifted forward to 12 p.m. But Mania 41 is set to start at 3:30 p.m. including the pre-show, to give enough time for fans and some talent to make the half-hour walk down the road to the Allegiant Stadium, where Mania is taking place. This year's Stand and Deliver start time was initially listed as 11:30 a.m., then got changed to the really quite early 10:30 a.m., but it has now been scheduled publicly for 9:30 a.m. Fans are going to be eating what they've nicked from the hotel breakfast in the stands. Fightful has reported that talent are dreading the call time for that show. Currently, no matches are announced for the event, but it's expected to feature a three-way for the NXT Championship of Obafemi defending against Trick Williams and Javon Evans. But that's not the only piece of WWE timing that's getting heat backstage. When Raw moved to Netflix at the start of this year, the USA Network had a problem. They have been broadcasting Raw since 2005, and the show's shift from 2 to 3 hours long in 2012 helped maintain their network's average viewership. This was vital in the decade that followed, as traditional TV viewership steadily declined. Without Raw, specifically at 3 hours long, USA Network would see their entire channel slide down the TV rankings. So in the broadcast rights game of musical chairs late last year, with Raw moving to Netflix and NXT going to the CW, USA got Fox's cast-off SmackDown. USA had just lost 5 weekly hours of WWE programming though, and gained 2 in SmackDown. That's a 3-hour deficit, which significantly impacted their TV rankings. So to mitigate that as best they could, they agreed with WWE that SmackDown, from the start of 2025, would go to 3 hours. And it's been rubbish! Fans and backstage talent alike have complained over the show's length. Initially, it was hoped that the longer runtime could elevate underutilized talent. That hasn't happened, and it's instead overexposed the product and stretched its roster and ideas too thin. If only there was some historical comparison we could have used to have foreseen this. According to WrestleVotes Radio, WWE's production and creative teams consider the 3-hour SmackDowns a major misstep. It's led to bad pacing, a lot of filler to pad out the show, and creative fatigue. This comes during the same time that Road Dogg was made co-head writer of SmackDown with John Switaker. Road Dogg had previously been a lead writer on SmackDown back in 2017, which was a bad creative period for the show. Thankfully, SmackDown is expected to go back to a 2-hour runtime in June, but that does mean 3 more months of badly paced episodes and an increasingly frustrated roster and backstage team. We need something fresh. We need something new. We need 58-year-old wrestler Bill Goldberg. Goldberg announced last year that, like everyone else he grew up loving, he will be having his final ever match at some point in 2025. Around that time, he seemed to be building a feud with the world heavyweight champion Gunther, including an in-ring angle together at Bad Blood in October. A WrestleMania Gunther vs Goldberg match is obviously not on the cards though, but Goldberg has now posted on Instagram announcing he's begun training for his retirement match, with a photo of him and his training partners and the caption, "And the grind begins. Assembling my in-ring crew, including..." Wait, is that his son Gage? That's what his son looks like now! Only yesterday he looked like this at Survivor Series! Goldberg recently told Ariel Helwani that he's recently undergone stem cell treatment and he's hoping to be cleared soon. He also said he wants to go out better than his last match, which was him losing to Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber Toronto in 2022. Just days after TNA announced they were making significant backstage cuts, controversially firing longtime member Gail Kim and the promotion's effective head of creative Ariel Schnurner, the promotion has just filmed a pair of TV tapings to build to their next big show, Rebellion, on the 27th of April. These are for episodes of Impact that haven't yet aired, so please skip to the timestamp on screen now if you don't want to have them spoiled. Because we're entering the spoiler room brawl in 3, 2... Bruce Willis was a ghost all along. Wrong spoiler! 1. NXT's Ethan Page, a former two-time World Tag Team Champion in TNA, made a shock appearance, challenging Joe Hendry for a shot at the world title. This is just the latest in a string of high-profile NXT and TNA crossovers since their working relationship was made official in January, like Moose and the Hardy Boys appearing at NXT's Roadblock show earlier in March. Also at the tapings, TNA's Director of Authority, Santino Marella, made the decision to strip Steph DeLander of the Digital Media Championship and then effectively get rid of that belt. First introduced in 2021, the Intergender belt's inaugural champion was Jordan Grace. Matt Cardona and Joe Hendry also had runs with the belt until its controversial end with PCO. Having won the title in July last year, PCO destroyed it with a sledgehammer at a GCW event back in January. This was a shoot, as he claims TNA had gone back on a verbal agreement they had with him about a contract renewal. TNA tried to retcon that into storyline by giving his kayfabe wife DeLander the title on her return to TV 2 weeks later. But because apparently you can't have too many titles in wrestling right now, TNA announced they'll be replacing it right away, kicking off a tournament to crown the inaugural TNA International Champion. As a sign of the times, Fightful is reporting TNA's streaming service, TNA Plus, has had its subscriber count double over the last year, which is partly due to efforts from members of the marketing team. The same marketing team members who were fired last week. With WWE doing their European tour right now, they've used it as an opportunity to announce their international plans. Firstly is the talent tryouts they held at the UK Performance Centre, which is weirdly, legitimately, a 20-minute drive from my house, on the 29th of March. According to Fightful, UK indie talent Rio, Golden Boy Santos, Zosiah, Man Like Reese, Progress champion Luke Jacobs, Bionic from the UK Gladiators reboot, who looks like if Zack Sabre Jr. ate Zack Sabre Jr., Nathan Angel, Hustle champion Rain Leverkusen, Danny Jones, Adam Maxted, and footballer Diego Rivera. Apparently, Man Like Reese particularly impressed WWE officials, with him receiving heavy praise. Before the tryouts, several talent in WWE have been reportedly pushing them to sign Reese as well as Rio. But it's not just Europe WWE wants to conquer. There's also that long-running market they've been trying to properly monetize: India. WWE President Nick Khan has told the Hindustan Times that they're aiming to host a flagship event in India in 2026 or 2027. WWE's audience in the country is enormous, with some estimates having Raw and SmackDown's weekly viewership at 50 million people on the ESPN channel, which is 10 times more than the US. But now WWE has moved to Netflix internationally, their reach in that country is more limited, and at risk of AEW swooping in to take those TV deals. But interestingly, Netflix seem aware of this too. As Khan said, without asking, Netflix handed us a list of their priority countries. At the top of that list was India. And knowing that the race would come into play on April 1st in India, if it's important to Netflix, assume It's important to us. The question over how do you monetize such a large audience is now no longer WWE's issue. That's a Netflix problem now. And as their strategy relies on rapid subscriber growth rather than actual profit, they can fund expansions into markets like this. Now click the video on screen now to watch the brand new episode of me and Luke playing WWE 2K25's My GM mode in Monday Night War.